Hello, welcome to the Habits of the Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Martinez. Today we have a special guest, Blast from the Past. From my past in the day. We'll talk about a little bit about that. But Seth Hardy from Indiana, from the 219. So I always make a joke that I left Indiana when I was 21, but the only thing I kept was my phone number, which is a 219 number. And Seth is pretty funny about that because tell everybody a little spoiler alert of what your website is.
Oh, yeah, it is webuy219.com. So the area code apparently doesn't leave. That's funny.
So it's a very interesting dynamic to be talking to somebody from the past. Let's talk a little bit about. I was reading your bio before you came in the room. You started during COVID, which is crazy. You're a COVID investor.
Yeah, yes, we did. Well, a lot of people were doing different things during COVID, some of which were productive, some of which weren't. For a majority of people, they weren't. And yeah, I don't know, I got furloughed from my full-time job. My background was in physical therapy. And so at that time, to get my doctorate in physical therapy, actually to get into the doctorate program, I was already a physical therapist, already had my foot in the door, so to speak. I was working 40 hours a week with physical therapists and kind of just doing the treatments, but not diagnosing or discharging patients when they were done with their plan of care. So COVID hit, and I was working with athletes at the time, and they had the whole essential and non-essential debate. And so they declared our clinic was non-essential. And so I got furloughed. I got furloughed with pay, which was nice. So they said, go home, we'll pay you as long as we can until we can't pay you anymore. I think that lasted like 2 or 3 weeks. So it was good on the company to do that. But during the interim, I was like, well, I'm already getting paid. I'm going to go work in nursing homes and help some of the elderly people that have COVID right now. What I ended up doing is, I worked 60 hours a week in the nursing home, still getting paid from the other job. And I got really frustrated. I was like, dude, I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm still getting paid 40 hours here. And I was still frustrated with how much work it took to get a paycheck that I was proud of. So I was like, what can I do to accelerate this a little bit? Because I always had the mind that I wanted to go invest in real estate and buy some rental properties. And I started to see how long it took to save up a down payment to buy a single family home as a rental property. And so read a couple books, looked some stuff up on YouTube, and stumbled across wholesaling real estate, which seemed to be the fastest way to make money. Also, everybody that talked about it made it seem way easier than it was. And so I started doing stuff like that during my, ramp up to growing a real estate business. So we started doing all the driving for dollars, which is, you drive around, look for distressed assets. Mm-hmm. And then you skip trace them and call them. We started doing all of that stuff. We bought a couple lists. We started doing bandit signs, just anything that we really could do. I started leaving business cards places, just all the cheesy stuff that you hear about people starting a business with. And that was starting in May of 2020 is when the LLC started, and we started taking action steps. And so I would get up 5 in the morning, and I had a garbage schedule, all of the local towns and when they would come pick up trash. And so I drive around at 5 in the morning looking for, on trash day, looking for everybody that had their trash cans out. And if they didn't have their trash cans out and it looked like, a property that needed a little bit of work, I just say, hey, write that one down. So we wrote that down. We'd drive every morning for like 2 hours. And then after I got off of work, we'd come home, skip trace them, and call them from like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it was like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night. We did that for 6 months. Finally, we got a deal later I think the end of September was right when we got our first deal. And that didn't even come from any of the stuff we were doing. It came from me just telling somebody that I was in real estate looking to purchase a distressed property. And my life insurance agent was like, hey, man, I'm about to retire. I have my home that's paid off in Hammond, which is one of the hotter investment areas in Indiana. And, I'd take 77 for it if you could give that to me, just because it's all I need to pay off the home that I'm having built so I can retire and stay there. And I was like, Okay, cool. And I didn't know how much the house was actually worth. Told him that we'd do it, and I didn't want to waste his time. So give me 2 weeks, and I'll tell him what I can do. And I told him I wasn't going to close on it. I was going to find an investor that would pay me a fee for it. And he said, "That's fine, whatever you got to do." So I went to Panera, printed out some contract off of Google, and he actually walked me through how to sign the contract. So he's he walked me through how to sign this contract for $77,000. I went to a local, like a hardware store, got a bunch of for sale by owner signs, posted them all the way around that area, and then I also went into local Facebook groups to look for people who were investing in real estate. And within like 3 days, I had an offer for 87, and we took that and closed like the next week. And it was like, all right, cool, proof of concept. Took 6 months, but we're good to go. So that was September of 2020, end of September 2020. Between the end of September in 2020 to the end of the year, I think we closed another 6 deals just like that. And so started to get a little bit of traction and momentum going. And that's kind of how the story starts, man.
One thing I like about the story is that a lot of people, they're always asked the question like, do I say I'm a real estate investor before I am a real estate investor? And I think this answers the question: is you have to say you're a real estate investor to get the real estate investor deal before you even do a transaction, because that's how you get the deal.
Yeah.
So consistency and kind of figuring it out. There's a lot of underlying motivations to get a deal, and some just lay down.
Yeah, that was one of them, man. And then that was a lay down. It took 6 months to get a lay down, but then the other ones were all generated organically through our own marketing. So bandit signs, cold calling. I think at the time we were doing RVMs, which is a ringless voicemail. We were doing those, and the rest of those deals came like through our own marketing and efforts. So I think it would have been maybe another month until we actually had our own that we had to run through a process with. But it was good to have the first one, be a laydown, so that way I knew how to fill out the contract. I mean, the guy we sold the property to and the guy we bought the property from, both of them had to help me figure out how to fill out. I had no idea. I showed up with a piece of paper and I was like, "Man, I've never filled this out before. Can you work with me through this?" And they were both super super open to doing it. But you can't really. You have to be transparent when you first get started. You can't just be like, "Yeah, I'm the one buying it." It's like, no, you're not. Just tell people it's not a big deal.
No, that's crazy. That's very interesting how a lot of transactions work. It's definitely a patience game. You do a lot of effort and work, and you don't know when it's going to pay off.
So,
It took me 7 months to get my first transaction done.
yeah,
So it's I think a lot of people they think they can get results quickly, and it takes longer than they expect.
yeah, exactly.
Takes longer than they expect. So let's talk a little bit. That's kind of how you got started. What are you doing now? Are you doing flips? Are you doing wholesale? Are you doing what type of transactions are you doing now in Indiana?
Yeah. So fast forward to where we're at today. Our team is 11 people in office and 5 people virtual. And we still are primarily wholesale. We've added fix and flip. We've added buy and hold. And then we also do a little bit of building portfolios for other business owners that are outside the real estate space that need the tax incentive and the wealth building power of real estate. So we also have a real estate group. I won't say brokerage because we're a group within a brokerage. So any leads that don't qualify as a wholesale deal or a deal that needs to be bought by a flipper, those get pushed directly to our broker or our real estate group. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now. I think we're on pace to do somewhere between 150 and 200 transactions this year. So started as 6 in 2020, fast forward to 2024, and we'll finish somewhere between 150 and 200 on the year. So
Easy math. That's like 12 to 18 a month.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. How big is the operation now to handle 12 to 18 deals a month?
Well, we have two sales guys plus myself or some of my partners jump in every once in a while if it's needed. Two sales guys. We have a transaction coordinator that kind of keeps the wheels on the bus for all of those deals that have dirty titles and whatnot. We have one guy that is selling contracts or working to get them on the MLS. We have a lead manager, a project manager, and a couple of admins. So we're a team of, we're about to hire somebody too. So we're a team of 11 plus 4 virtual assistants. So 15 total.
That's a big team. But yeah, how many VAs do you have?
Initially it was a lot more, but right now we have 4. Yeah. So we have one that is strictly admin. We have another one that's kind of a sales assistant. We have one guy that is running text message marketing, and then another one that's a bookkeeper. So there's a decent staff there. They're all pretty high level and self-sufficient, which is nice.
That's the game right there, is self-sufficiency and like team management to kind of hit that scale.
Right.
What is your marketing strategy that's working the best right now, especially in that area? Because I think different areas call for different marketing strategies.
Right now, what's doing best for us, honestly, is pay-per-click marketing. Anything digital right now is working best for us. So pay-per-click, pay-per-lead, we're running a bunch of different campaigns for that. So those are typically getting us a 6x ROI, but they're the most consistent lead sources that we have. So we're throwing as much as we can in there. Obviously, referrals are great for us too. We have a pretty likable team, pretty active on social media, active within the real estate community, and so we get a lot of referrals, which is helpful. But right now, anything digital for us is crushing it.
Yeah, let's talk about the power of branding, because I think a lot of people, they underestimate the power of social media and what the benefits of that lead flow and referral base is like.
Yeah, it's just not really something we thought about initially. One of my partners started to bring it up, like, man, we got to start advertising, start getting our signs and our name out there, and different things that just tell people what Dynasty Real Estate is. And so we ran Facebook ads, not the traditional ones where it's like, hey, if you're looking to sell your house quickly, with a little house picture. It was like videos of us just kind of telling stories in front of a house, or having a seller tell a story. And we started to get a lot of traction from that. So that was the first piece. We're like, okay, maybe having our face out there and kind of telling what we do and how we're not trying to get over on people is going to be helpful. And then we started a local real estate meetup group called REI Indiana, and we advertised the heck out of that. All of our team members would post on Facebook and other social media platforms just to get people in person at this event. And our first one, we had like over 100 people show up, but it was people from all over the place. There's lenders, inspectors, title companies, property management companies, other flippers, people who wanted to get started in real estate, wholesalers, like a whole bunch of people. And that one went really well. And so we invited a couple of our colleagues in the real estate space, some competitors, if you want to call them that, but I get along with everybody in the market. And yeah, they came up and kind of told what they did and what their stories were, and we advertised them coming to speak as well. And man, we ended up with like over 200 people on the second one. And so because of the fact that, now we're in the community and people kind of knew who we were, as well as real estate agents seeing, our listings and closing title companies knowing who we are, it starts to grow organically. And, you hire well and they represent your brand well. So it just kind of organically started to grow. And I think, honestly, up until this quarter, that's been our highest converting and our best lead source is referrals, to be fully transparent. It's like 40% of our deals last quarter came from referrals.
Ooh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know you ran a meetup. This is the first time hearing about this.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I think it's amazing. The meetup type of referral base is huge. So I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I heard about people doing this, but I haven't actually had anybody on the podcast that's done this. So this is really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the question I want to ask is, How do you do it? Monthly, quarterly? Do you run any ads for it? Is there all word of mouth? Like let's jump into this
Yeah.
meetup thing here. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So when we started, we were trying to do it monthly, and it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
just
it is.
just because coordinating and trying to throw the same event and get the same amount of people there every single month, it's like, man, as soon as you stop, you have to have the next one up and running and start marketing for the next one. So we decided to bump it to quarterly, which helped us obviously still focus on the business. A lot of it was coming from effort from our team. And, we noticed just with trying to coordinate it that closely that, it just kind of took away from our business, and we didn't really want to have to deal with it that often. So we run them quarterly. And really, it's just kind of word of mouth. I mean, my entire team will throw stuff up on Facebook. They record videos. We'll have somebody attend the event and record it, and then they'll chop up that video and kind of use it as a marketing piece, so to speak. But it's not. It's none of it's paid. It's all organic, just word of mouth and through Facebook. We'll have some of the local companies that we work with sponsor the event, and
There you go.
they'll blast it on their own pages, and so people see, hey, we're going to get together and talk about how to start your real estate investing journey or how to get involved in real estate. And it's coming from property managers, real estate agents, title companies, inspectors. It comes from all of them. So that all of their spheres see that there's a free event with, with some stuff that's paid for that they can show up to. And, they just come and enjoy and try to learn things. And eventually it just organically grows. So I think that was the biggest thing for us, is just kind of organically growing, not trying to sell anything, just trying to help the local community, and people seeing that is what helped it grow for us.
One thing I think that if everybody here listening to this, I think this is a great point. But one thing I've noticed with people that run meetups is that it depends on the market. If the market's hungry to learn about the education, it is very, very popular, and the meetups can go up to it's like there's a guy I know that has like 1,000 people go to his meetup that he does every once in a while. It's crazy. So like there's a lot of people in Dallas, and I think, and especially in Indiana, there's a lot of people in Dallas and Indiana that would do want to invest and partake in these type of networking events. What's funny is I live by San Diego, and I go to San Diego meetup, and it is the complete opposite. Everybody is fine. They've already made it. There's no wholesalers trying to learn the game. Everybody, it's such a opposite dynamic that I see on my side, that meetup that I go to. So everywhere I've known that they do a meetup in, like, not necessarily, it's a hungry market. They're packed, super
Yeah,
packed.
yeah, it's interesting. San Diego, the cost to play out there is a little bit higher for most different types of real estate. Not always, but it's just interesting. Yeah, you're probably, that would make sense. Everybody's already established and they already kind of got it right. So it's hard to get your feet wet when it costs so much to get started in a market like that.
Absolutely. So I think it's very interesting. But the meetup thing is pretty cool. The As far as the people that sponsor, are you using that for like free drinks or something? Where do you have this meetup at like a bar or something?
Yeah, so it's actually in an event center that I thought looks cool, and it's centrally located. So it's called Avenue 912 in Griffith, and basically we just tell them that there's a $300 bar tab, and the first people that get there get a ticket to go get a drink,
Good.
and people try to show up early so they can get their one or two drinks, and everybody else is cash after that. So we're kind of supporting a local business, but also being able to provide, I guess, a little bit of a fun time. So there's music and stuff when you get there, and it's all done up kind of cute, with the little string lights and different stuff like that. So it's kind of vibey. It's cool.
Gotcha. That's cool,
Yeah,
man. I love the strategy. Like I said, my air doesn't call for it, so I can't do it. And like it's exhausting doing that stuff pretty regularly. It's really
yeah,
exhausting.
yeah, definitely. So we try to limit it to when it's colder outside here, because people typically are more inclined to do stuff when it's cold as opposed to when it's nice out and they can get out with their family in summertime. So we'll run one Q1, and then in the middle, like early Q2, and then we'll skip basically skip Q3 entirely and then just hit Q4 because it's colder outside. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on that, man. That's really exciting. I think the social media game. I think you have a really good handle on it. I think the market calls for it, and you can definitely leverage it. One of the cool things I leverage a lot of social media too to get a lot of my transactions. So it's really cool having a minimal marketing budget and still be doing a lot of transactions
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
bigger transactions. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's a pretty cool dynamic to the regular wholesaler who have to spend and do a lot of marketing to get their deals. You kind of get them served up to you on a platter,
Yep.
which is nice.
Yeah, it is. It is nice. Like you said, with the referral, same thing. It's like, there's no cost to those, and those are typically your most profitable ones, and they're the easiest to close because they were passed off to you. So any social media leads, any referral leads, it's a great source. I think honestly, it's probably overlooked in most people's market because they just think, all right, it's a marketing and sales machine. So you pay for your leads, you convert them, and then you close. When in reality, if you run it like a legitimate business, the best leads to get are the ones that come from low cost sources. So that's something that we're trying to make sure we still tap into pretty heavily.
So, what's the future look like to you? Are you going to dig more into that personal branding marketing, or are you kicking up some marketing thing in the future? You planning to buy some apartments in the future? Like, what's the future look like for you?
Uh, well, I'd like to take the exact model that we have now once it's completely optimized and copy and paste that throughout select markets in the entire Midwest. So fix and flip, wholesale, buy and hold, and just, make sure that each hub can get functioning optimally without me or my partners in it. And that's the goal, is to, utilize the cash flow from those first two businesses, the wholesale and fix and flip, to fuel what we buy and hold. And that's hopefully the exit strategy for the business. And how I sell off into the sunset is having a couple of cash flowing businesses that allow us to buy cash flowing assets. So,
There you go. There you go. So you're trying to replicate the same. Are you doing only stuff in Indiana, or are you venturing out to Ohio and Illinois?
currently it's in Indiana. I'd like to be a little bit a little bit higher level when it comes to fix and flip. We're flipping right now, and I think there's a lot of room for us to grow on that side of things. And so I'd like to optimize our fix and flip operation before we start getting into some other markets. So I think that'll happen soon, but right now that's the goal. So
Yeah, you have a lot of control in your marketplace, and you should definitely dig in. So if you're already making the good standing, you have a lot of control. Do you buy stuff in Michigan City by chance?
yeah. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I always think about like how Indiana, Northwest Indiana, and Indiana in general, how small it is if you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It is a smaller market, and there's a lot of, I don't want to call it competitive because there's a lot of competitive markets out there, but for how small it is, there are a lot of bigger players. It's interesting. So, but yeah, I like Michigan City. There's a lot of renovation going into Michigan City right now. People are throwing money into it left and right. I think it's because, what is it? New Buffalo market is right next to it. The Michigan side of things, and there's a lot of people throwing money into that area, trying to hype up Lake Michigan and the fact that it's a nice area. Honestly, there's a lot of new construction going on over there, and they preserve the beaches really well right across the border in Michigan. So I think Michigan City is trying to do the same exact thing. It's a good area right now to invest in.
What's a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
A quote that is somebody else's that I resonate with could be mine. Well, not really applicable to anything, but in my office, one for the sales guys is lock it up and figure it out. They ask me, should they pull the trigger on it? And that's always my response. And then the second one is for my transaction coordinator in TC. I always tell them to close by Friday, even if it is Thursday afternoon. So if they can get it sold and closed by Friday. No, but an actual quote I would say is, the biggest disservice you can do to yourself and your family is by not becoming the best version of you. So
Mm,
I like that one, and that one resonates very heavily with me.
good, good. No, I like that. I always like asking the quotes because it's usually something close to chest that's written on your wall or something. So you're like, it's right there. You can point
Yeah.
at it.
No, not written down. Somebody else was in this office previously, so there's nothing in here. But that's the one that I feel aligns most closely with kind of how I think about things.
Awesome, awesome. Where can people find you online? I have We Buy 219, and tell people a little bit how to get to if they're local to the area, where they can get to the meetup and more information about that.
Yeah, follow me on Facebook, Seth Hardy, and Instagram at sethhardy.rei. Our website is webuy219.com. But honestly, if you Google Dynasty Real Estate, you're going to see our team and a bunch of reviews for our company. So I think if you Google Dynasty Real Estate, look us up on Facebook or Instagram, just again under Dynasty Real Estate, or I think Instagram is It's a Flippin' Dynasty. You'll start to see some stuff about the meetup. Probably got one coming up here October, I would say. So coming up, still a couple months away though. But that's how you get in contact with me. Or you can email Seth at webuy219.com.
There you go. For everybody here, go like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you coming on, Seth. Thanks for tuning in.